Are we live? Yes, we are live. Welcome. This is Dawn O'Sara. I'm the author and um, co-author and mastermind member of the 7 Keys to Freedom, the ultimate guide to developing your mind. I'm also a very successful life coach. I love masterminding and I love Think and Grow Rich, and I can't wait to share this chapter with you today because it is exciting. We're going to cover Chapter 10, The Power of the Mastermind. And if you are anywhere around, if you're a Napoleon Hill fan, if you've read this book before, if you have been around the fields of success, you have heard the term mastermind before. You've probably heard of mastermind groups. You have most likely have kind of a concept of what it means to mastermind and create things together. We're going to dive deep and discover the hidden secrets that Napoleon Hill writes about in Think and Grow Rich in this chapter 10, The Power of the Mastermind today. And, right before I started broadcasting, I was talking to Andrea, and she's here in the green room. She was here in the green room with me this morning before we got on, and we were talking about how you could read the book and read the chapter over and over and over again, but at some point you read each one of these chapters in Think and Grow Rich and you discover something pretty big, something really new, and it's usually because, the saying goes, it's that, the book never changes, it's you change, and something in you changes to where your awareness is able to receive more information. And we were kind of joking about that being the case for even both of us. I've read this book at least, twice, 3 times a year since I was 20. So it's a long time to be reading the book. And, waffling and, going in and out of the different phases of success, but still reading and still being a student of Napoleon Hill. And, looking for those hidden keys and hidden clues in this in the book that will help me, further myself on my journey. So this chapter was really fun to reread because right now I'm currently teaching people how to create their own mastermind groups. And I was reading this again even today, and there was parts of it that I haven't talked about before. We're going to talk about today. Or maybe not talked about, but maybe, we haven't had that deep dive discussion in some of these points. So anyways, I'm going to open up the Hangout and ask Andrea, hopefully, because she's got a little cold here. She's on here with me. And if you're watching from the outside, just click on the link on the event page and you can join in. What was it, Andrea, this time when you were reading the chapter on thinking... chapter on the mastermind that really kind of stood out to you, that made, what was the difference this time? I would love to hear what you have to say.
So I really wish I would have highlighted it, but so I never heard this before. Money is shy and elusive, and it must be wooed and won by the methods, not unlike those by a determined lover in the pursuit of a girl of his choice.
Yeah.
There was that, Dawn. That whole offering of Napoleon Hill to us regarding that. Just really the effect that this chapter had, kind of as a whole. And again, as we were talking earlier before you started the broadcast, possibly for myself, it is because now I'm really participating in 3 very solid mastermind groups. And I had partaked in what I had thought were mastermind groups in the past, now come to understand, no, they're probably just more like brainstorming sessions with people. Because none of us really understood. We thought we understood, the definition of the mastermind, but no. But that really struck a chord with me, the whole wooing the money. the whole wooing it.
Yeah, that's really powerful, and what a great way, because he kind of sneaks that in at the very end of the chapter. It's not in the very beginning; it's kind of at the end, if I remember right. I'm trying to.
Exactly. And then what's the next chapter after this?
It's the sex chapter on sex transmutation.
Yes.
When we come back next month, it's really going to be a bang because we're going to talk about this energy of wooing money. This.
Because I get it now.
Yeah, you get
Because
it now.
and physically, as I was reading that, I felt very different.
Yeah.
And energetically, as I was reading that, I felt very differently.
Right. Yeah. And there is a right way and a wrong way to go about, pursuing a lover. And if you've been around the block at all, you know that that um, that kind of chasing pursuit doesn't always work, because then the person runs away and thinks we're a creeper.
Yeah, we're too needy.
I swear that worked for my husband, so I shouldn't say that because he's totally stalked me like a creeper 20 years ago, 24 years ago, anyways. And he still is that kind of, playful stalker. But for other, if it weren't the right combination of, chemistry, we'll just say, there's no way I would have ever had, it would have just been an immediate cutoff, for that pursuit. So when we're thinking about how do we respond, we're going to talk about that next month, but just kind of planting that seed for that chapter on sex transmutation. It's the most, for me, it's the most powerful chapter because it's all about the internal stuff that goes on. It really is that alchemy of transforming the thoughts to the physical equivalent of money that happens inside of us. That's sex transmutation, and we'll talk about that. That's what we do as an individual. That wooing the money, and then that using our energy and persuading money, and being in that receiving mode, especially for women. It's so true. Being able to receive, that the advances of somebody else, of like being able to receive the money is a kind of a twist for women, because if we pursue like Amanda, it may be a little different. So and I'll see if I've been meaning to get a really couple good experts on, and I did one, I think last time we went through here, right? We had a really great.
We did have someone on with us.
And it's just such a great chapter to have somebody else, come in and chat about, because it's so powerful. But this month I'm the expert, so we'll just keep it here. But when we're working with a mastermind, we're still using our own energy, so that the energy of transmuting thoughts into things, transmuting desire into the physical equivalent, which is that that energy of wooing the money and persuading the money to flow through us. It's the energy of money that we're persuading. We're not persuading the somebody to buy from us. We're not persuading somebody to invest in our programs or in our business. What we're doing is we're working with that energy of money. In a mastermind group, the more powerful a mastermind group is, the more there's different levels and different layers. And I've even started a new mastermind group recently that's entirely different than anything I've ever done before. And I think I've probably shared that with you. You've been on a few of the calls or hangouts with me, Andrea. But I made the decision to fly out to California once a month and mastermind in a very different way than I've ever done. But everybody in that group has experienced masterminding. Every person in that group has been a part of a high level and has their own high level mastermind groups. So what's happening in there is really something. It's an entirely different level that that I'm very happy to have access to, because something big is coming out of it, and it's definitely different. But that's not for everybody. When you're starting out, you definitely want to have more of a what Napoleon Hill talks about in this chapter on the mastermind. I'm going to pull my book out so I can quote it for you. So I don't. He just talks about. Woo, not even sure I can see anymore. Let's see. That the mastermind is coordinating the knowledge and effort in the spirit of harmony between two or more people for the attainment of a definite purpose. So it's really, there's a couple things. You have to have a definite purpose. Even with this mastermind group that I'm meeting in LA, there is a definite purpose. But it is a definitely different purpose than we've ever done before. So this, having a definite purpose with people who you have a spirit of harmony with, and choosing your mastermind group, and he talks about, and not even in this book, but in other texts and other conversations that he has that have been recorded. If you haven't listened to any of his recordings, you might want to do that. He talks about choosing mastermind partners wisely, because he actually got burnt a lot in his life. he really partnered up with some people that were it was like that time of opportunity, and they weren't always the most
ethical.
Ethical, yes, very good. They weren't the most ethical, and at that time, you have to think about the power of sex transmutation comes along with this piece of charisma. And if you have charisma, you understand that there is a power in just being able to persuade people, and sometimes you can do that in a way that's unethical. If you don't have the best intentions for everybody involved, then that is a place to start. Learning to as you're growing your business, come at it from a place of, I want the best for everyone involved, not just yourself. I don't know why I'm saying this. I shouldn't even have to say it. However, there are. The fact of the matter is, when we are talking about success and wealth, and when we are in these communities of people who are seeking success, it's going to be a hit or miss. You have to really understand that there are people who really don't want to ally with you unless you ally with them, meaning, like, unless you're all into their plans, they're not going to even remotely be into your idea.
Well, that's because they want to back their hidden agenda, right?
Yeah, their hidden agenda. And you know what? And it's really unfortunate that happens kind of with network marketing, and I really feel...
Oh my God, Dawn, it's like we're so twinsies today, because I was that very thought and about that very industry was on the tip of my tongue.
Yeah, and it's not true for all of them. However, if you're, it's one of those things that it's we're taught as business owners, and Napoleon Hill talks about a definite purpose and burning bridges, but he's not talking about being mean or cruel or alienating the people who aren't in your aren't on your plan. And I think a lot of people there's a lot, we'll just say there's a lot of go-getting and still spiritual possibilities for maturity to happen within that industry. And there's a lot of people that are really, that come at it with a lot of integrity and do really, really well. You'll find that they're very much at the very top.
Absolutely.
So those people at the very top know how to do it with integrity and with compassion, and They're not shutting doors because they know that, you know, so many times in life, when you go through life, timing just may not be right for some people. And if you're shutting doors on, you know, family members, or if you're shutting door, and I'm not, you know, there's times when,
We
you know,
need to shut those
yeah,
doors. Absolutely.
there's times when the doors need to be shut, but for the benefit of everyone. However, you know, just being able to really follow your true heart's desires is so important, and that's why the first chapter on Think and Grow Rich is all about desire. You know, following your desire doesn't mean poo-pooing everyone else's. And what that's, you know, I think that's my magic, is I am very much in tune to the, you know, the authentic desires of people, and I can help facilitate that pretty easily. And I know when somebody's desires are different than what they speak. What's their agenda? I mean, most people, if you've been around for long enough, you know if somebody's agenda, if they have a hidden agenda beyond their what they're.
Yeah, but you know what? Sometimes, listen, sometimes we can still get conned and snowed because, you know, that person's a really good conner. But I do love this thing about the whole definite purpose of the purpose of the, you know, of our mastermind group, and when we're picking it. And I can see how when Napoleon Hill is talking about choosing wisely those that you form this mastermind with, in terms of the energy, for myself, like it hit me, it was about, you know, what is the energy that that individual will bring to this mastermind group? Because there are those energy vampires and hitchhikers, and you know, like, this is, you know, really, I'm just really speaking very personally now about my own lessons of that I've learned along my way around the block and back a few times, where even take it outside of the mastermind, I apply it to even in terms of my circle of influence, my friends, those that I want to speak on the telephone with, spend some time with, even when it comes down to, you know, my Facebook and my news feed, and how I want that and the energy of that, because I do have a definite purpose. You know, I have a few definite purposes,
Right.
but they all definitely tie to one large one, but I can break them down into different sections, right?
Yeah.
And they will all be pointed directly back to the main definite purpose for me.
Right.
So, yes, very important when wanting to join or come together with those other minds in a mastermind.
Yeah.
It's just so brilliant, like brilliant, brilliant.
And you touched on a point that is just really so resonant. And when you're reading this chapter on the mastermind, it's so there, which is the energy. And you know, he talks about I'm going to read this. He says it's the psychic phase of the mastermind. I mean, this is really, so there's two elements of this mastermind, and I'm going to go over this because I think it's worth repeating and going through this again. There's two phases, he calls them, of the mastermind. One's the, you know, economic phase, and one's the spiritual, psychic phase of the mastermind. And you know, one side of that is about money, the other side, and they're both about energy, really, because there's the energy of money and then there's the energy of the psychic energy. But this psychic energy of the mastermind and the psychic purpose of the mastermind is much more abstract. He talks about, I'm going to read these two paragraphs. In my book, they're on 254. I've got this one, black cover, pink inside, just in case anybody wants to follow along with me. It says the psychic phase of the mastermind principle is much more abstract, much more difficult to comprehend, because it has reference to the spiritual forces with which the human race as a whole is not well acquainted. And I love that. You may catch a significant suggestion from this statement. No two minds ever come together without thereby creating a third mind.
Yes.
Yeah. Invisible, a third invisible, intangible force, which can be likened to a third mind. That's what he says. Keep in mind that the fact that there are only two known elements in the whole universe, energy and matter. It is a well-known fact that matter may be broken down into units of molecules, atoms, and electrons, i.e. energy. They are units of matter which may be isolated, separated, and analyzed. Likewise, there are units of energy. The human mind is a form of energy. A part of it is being spiritual in nature. When the minds of two people are coordinated in the spirit of harmony, the spiritual units of energy of each mind form an affinity, which constitutes the psychic phase of the mastermind. That's the psychic phase of the mastermind. You know, and he talks about being able to mind read, basically. Tap into the knowledge of all of the other people in the group. And I find this really fascinating because I've read Napoleon Hill's work, and later in life, it wasn't until like his later years did he really start talking about what was really going on. You know, he's tapping into these spiritual forces. He really stops holding himself back from saying, yeah, I'm, you know, really most of this stuff came from infinite intelligence. I'm tapping into universal, you know, thought. And this is where this came from, not from, you know, all of this research. It was a combination of him working and interviewing all these people. And as you know, you're interviewing people. This is one of the reasons why doing like teleseminars and interviewing people is such a powerful way to start your business. Because as you're interviewing people, you know, you're getting into their mind, you're sharing, you're having conversations, and you're tapping into, you know, like you get hooked up to what, you know, their storehouse of knowledge as well as yours, as well as opening up, if you're really opening up the conversation to what else, you know, wants to come in from the universe. So it's really lots to think about. And if there's, you know, masterminding in general, having a weekly place to touch and talk about your wins and your problems, anything that you're having challenges with, and getting that feedback about what's stopping you immediately, as opposed to, you know, trying to figure it out yourself.
And then the momentum, and then because then that's going to create that other momentum, right? When we leave it,
yeah,
we're not just not making it a story, right? Because then there's that art of, you know, being able to say something and to let it go and to release it without falling into our trap of what the human mind wants us to do, and that's to now make it our story.
Yeah, and you know, that's so right on. And I think it's funny too, is because so many times when we hear ourselves say the things that we think are stopping us, once you speak it, and this is why I love coaching, and but you know, sometimes when you're with a coach, you can still allow yourself to get stuck in your own story. But when you're in a group of more than one other person, you hear your story kind of being amplified back to you, kind of like psychically, and you really get that it's just a story that you're telling. Like, there's just no way that you can get away with some of the stuff that you know, some of the BS belief systems and, you know, BS that you've got stuck in your mind. So it's so much easier to release these limitations, limiting beliefs when you're with a mastermind group and you're hearing yourself speak what's going on. Because, I mean, and having that definite purpose and coming prepared to a mastermind group with a focus, and really training your mind to be focused on a definite purpose is really powerful. Whether or not your focus is, you know, to grow more spiritually every single week. You know, like, I want to grow more spiritually. That's a focus, it's a purpose, it's a definite purpose, but it's very open. But or having a group that says, I want to grow my business. My purpose of my goal, or the purpose of this mastermind group is to double our income. Like,
yes, that's much more specific.
very specific. Being able, though, to be honest and forthright within a group of people and say, what, you can't double zero. Like if you come to a group and you're like just starting out and you're like, there because you're wanting to double zero, well, 0 times 2 is still 0. And being able to be, this is kind of a piece of this, being able to be vulnerable to your group at that point instead of like holding back.
Right.
Truth will help you so much, because if they know that where you're starting at your authentic starting place, then they absolutely will be able to help you get that to 1 so you can start doubling. 1
But
times.
then that comes, I think, and then that, in order to receive that, it definitely starts with the fact that one has to be in that right mastermind group.
Yeah.
Where we are in the spirit of harmony.
Yeah. Yeah, so true. And if you're in a group that doesn't, where you're not comfortable sharing your like your vulnerabilities, at least in a very distinct and quick way, and not go on about your the story behind the what you're going. But if you can be in a group that you can feel comfortable sharing those stories, because a lot of times in a mastermind group you don't have a lot of time, which is another valuable part of it. It helps your mind focus. Isn't that amazing? You get really focused within a group. But if you're not comfortable with the energy of yourself in that group, then just find another group. That's that's pretty much it. And for the people starting out and who are looking to maybe just start a mastermind group of your own, maybe you don't know of others, but maybe you want to start your own group, I would say just do it, and start with a group that you are not sure if the energy is right or not. Be committed to practicing and starting someplace.
You'll find out soon enough if
You'll
that
find out.
If I may just share an experience that I had with a mastermind group that I had joined at some point this past summer. Funny enough, the group started and there was a couple of individuals who were a member of this group, but they came with their agenda. What was their agenda? They wanted it to be a brag fest. So we would meet weekly via Skype, and these 3 individuals always wanted everything to be centered. We know that you need to come with your wins, of course. That is to be shared. But this was a wanting to dominate the conversation where it be centered and the spotlight always just be on them. It quickly fizzled out, this group. And these individuals that first came, really, I think that energy kind of, maybe that was what was supposed to happen at the end anyways. I'm not going to question it. And I'm glad that I had that contrast, right, so that I could better understand. But yeah, I mean, you'll know. I mean, I knew well enough after the first, I gave it like 4 times of meeting with this group, because I thought, well, maybe it was where I was at, and maybe I was, my vibration was a bit lower, and maybe there was that envy on my part in terms of what these individuals were being able to manifest for themselves. Of course, I was questioning myself at first, because sometimes that's what it can be. But I quickly came to understand that, no, that's not what it was, and that's not, it was that, this wasn't a mastermind. Did you get that audio that I had sent to you on Facebook yesterday?
No, I didn't open it yet, because we went to bed.
Because I'm not sure if you've ever listened to Abraham's definition of the mastermind.
I might have, because I've pretty much searched all of their stuff, and I know, everything
is. I find it just so beautiful.
Yeah.
as I found Napoleon Hill in his writings, and then, when you're hearing something auditory and you're something visually, if for myself, it can have those different effects on me.
Yeah. Well, what you want to share the what you remember for the definition? Can you share
Well,
that?
it really is very much. I mean, it's a more expansive kind of take on what Napoleon Hill is talking about, where he's centering it about the spirit of harmony and in terms of the masterminds. And Abraham suggests for the mastermind to be very general and allow it to be a very organic process.
Yeah, that's what we're doing. That's what we're doing in California right now. And it's powerful. Yeah.
Very powerful. Very, very, very powerful.
Yeah.
And also, in terms of what you were just, I just want to just kind of expand a little further on what you were just talking about. Sorry. Regarding the energy of the group and us being able to, when we are participating, to not feel as though there's a competition between the members of the group.
Yeah, and you know what? That will happen, and this is one of those things where it takes a real. This is one of the reasons why I work so well, I think, with helping people facilitate mastermind groups, because it takes a lot of leadership ability to be able to lead a group and to be able to, sometimes have a timer, sometimes move the conversation along. And to really be present to the energy of the whole group, because sometimes that can be addressed without words, because if the facilitator is moving the conversation along, there shouldn't be that kind of energy, but it's still going to happen. People are competitive, and unfortunately we're not all evolved to this co-creative state of being which we want to be. I found myself even, having grew up very competitive and lost all of that, not lost it, but consciously shifted into a more creative mind, because I have, this one quote, this is kind of off topic, but I think it's really a good point to stay here. I have this quote that came from Wayne Dyer, and it says, I'm pretty sure it came from Wayne Dyer, amateurs compete, professionals create. And that has been so freeing, because it frees you to create and do your magic. Forget about competition. If you're doing your thing better than, no one can do your thing better than you, because you're you. And every time you move into that creative or that competition state, you're trying to play somebody else's game. However, my son challenged me to a game of billiards, and I put my competition, my competitive juices on, and I totally beat the patoozies out of that little boy. He's 12, and he was shocked. Anyways, I thought it was fun.
Yes, but there's a time and a place for the competition.
Yeah, and there is
not in a mastermind group.
Right. And you know what? It was really funny. What came out of that is we decided that we were going to play together and just make each other better players. Because I don't really have no desire to play, very often. I mean, I haven't played for years, and but that was kind of what came out of it. So sometimes, and there's so much, if you are a really successful person, you understand that that the people who make you feel that little competitiveness a little bit are your best allies. They can really turn into your best allies, because there is a respect that people have for each other. And if you can, at that level you're talking about within a mastermind group, if you can feel that competitive tension and allow it to be there at the very beginning, and then let it move to a mutual respect, that's really what needs to happen if you're facilitating a group, because it will happen naturally unless somebody's putting attention on the competitiveness, or unless the people that are there are really in it for themselves, and which is not the purpose of a mastermind group. If you're there for, if you're in it for yourself, then you have got to, get out, because as well as there being two phases of the mastermind group, like Napoleon Hill talked about, the psychic phase and the economic phase, there's two real reasons to be in a mastermind group. One is to give your best to the group, and the other is to receive what the group has to give to you, not you telling the group what you need all the time. And sometimes you'll receive. If you're open to receiving, you're going to receive really what the universe is there to help you, shift out. And it's going to be more magical than if you come in with an agenda. So masterminding is by far the most powerful thing. And Napoleon Hill says that it's the only way we can accumulate power is through a group. And if you think about it throughout history, Napoleon Hill he helped formulate the Cabinet of the United States, and he called that a mastermind group, like the Cabinet of the United States of America gets together, to mastermind about the different policies of the United States. How revolutionary is that? Masterminds have been formed for everything. If you think about in America, the relationship between what was her name? Emily Cady Staton and Susan B. Anthony. That was a mastermind. They masterminded how could they get women's the right to vote. Now they both died before they ever saw women be able to vote, but they pursued that purpose with their
until they died.
Until they died. And and we can vote. It just seems so foreign that women, not too long ago, weren't able to vote, but that's the truth. African American men were able to vote before women were, and that was, they were asked to support that cause as opposed to support the straight, let's get suffrage for women. And they weren't going to have anything to do with that. They did, they helped, but they were focused on getting the women the right to vote. So it took a long time. That was a mastermind group. If you can look in your life and you will find any great relationship between husband and a wife, there's a masterminding element. What's your common goal? What is it that you are striving for within your family? Have that be your guiding. Go through this book. If you want to have a mastermind group with anybody, take this Think and Grow Rich book and just go through it with the people. If they're interested in, when you get to the mastermind chapter like now, if they aren't fully in it, then they're not necessarily in their own development. And that's kind of, what you want. You want to be in a mastermind group with people who are really interested in growing and thriving and not just comfortable with where they are and thinking that they are, that they know it all already. So that's another part of it. And I have never known a facilitator of a mastermind, a really good mastermind group who's not willing to grow with their group. And that's really, that's something else that get in a mastermind group where the person leading it is also growing, and in what way they're growing as well, because that kind of leadership will really help you feel a part of it, because when you're helping them grow as they're helping you grow, it's really powerful. So,
yes.
Yeah.
Because it's about all of that energy that's coming forth.
Yeah.
That's being sent out, that's being received, that's being transmuted. So.
Yeah. And there's another, and I'm going to kind of talk about this real quick and think about your business, because this is, Napoleon Hill talks about Mahatma Gandhi being the person who had the most power at that time, and he had the most power at that time because he persuaded
200 million, was it?
200 million people with one singular idea, to get on board one singular idea, and to, pretty much follow that. So when you're thinking about your business and you're thinking about communicating what you do, is there, and this is kind of hard for me too, so, is there one single idea that you want people to get on board with? Is there one single thing that you feel that you could bring to the world, bring to Earth, or bring to your clients? And when you're able to communicate that one single idea, and then it's so much easier to get people on board and to support you, like Mahatma Gandhi, or like Steve Jobs did with when he was around. Oprah does this with with persuading people to to own their lives. She's talking about ownership too. And I'm gonna move my camera a little bit. Okay, so just think about that, and sometimes it's just having that energy of what you're communicating. Sometimes, because the energy that that we want to communicate is something that's going to be attractive, because you're talking about this energy. What I really appreciate, the energy that I want to resonate all the time is how much I appreciate myself in life. And I find that that's what I want to get more and more and more into that space, because as I grow older, I know that that's going to be the most gentle way I can live my life and affect the most people and be the biggest influence if I'm there not to teach or tell or show or guide, but really to appreciate the desires of people and to appreciate what they're trying to bring forth and to appreciate myself in that role. So,
well, Abraham says words don't teach, right?
Right.
So it is through the power of example, and that is leading from that space. So for sure, for yourself to be appreciating yourself and all of that comes with one when they are in that place of self-appreciation, self-respect, and self-love, you then teach so brilliantly.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, that's just how I feel about it.
Yeah. Well, because you're incongruent, you're congruent with your message, and I think that's people, if you can't. This is so important, and I feel like I'm just like on that leading edge of being able to communicate this so much more eloquently. But when you're in that state of appreciation, mutual appreciation for yourself and for the other person, you're not going to get into that competitive stuff, and you're not, you're going to be in a more co-creative experience with life. It's so much more open, it's so much less constricting, it's so much more freeing, because you're able to then move into your next level creation of whatever that is for you. And talking about, kind of getting it back into this topic of masterminding, I think what makes, there's so many things that, and I've talked about this so many times, if you want to know like the 3 biggest mistakes that people make when masterminding, go check out the last video that I did when we talked about masterminding, which was I don't know, 5 months ago, but the longer than that, it was over a year ago. I forgot how long ago it was, but getting into that state of appreciation is, if you can do that, then you're going to be in that giving and receiving state. That's really that state that you want to be in, being able to be in that state of appreciation for the facilitator. If you don't feel that feeling of, oh, I really appreciate the work that this leader, this facilitator is doing, that's not the mastermind group for you. You know, that's just kind of simple like that. Let that be your litmus test. Are you feeling that sense of appreciation? Because that's the feeling that lets you know that you are in resonance with, that person is going to help you move to your next level, that person is there matching your desire to move forward. And you should feel within a mastermind group, the feelings that you should feel when you're there are more expansive, more like able to get more done too. I mean, sometimes when you're in a mastermind group, there are people that are doing so much, and they will tell you you have to do this or you won't succeed. That's one way to think about, masterminding. And then there's another group of masterminds, people that are coming together, and this is what I bring to the table is knowing that, you know what, you don't have to do all of the stuff that I'm doing. You have to do the thing that you're meant to do right now, because then eventually you'll get to do all this other stuff. Or maybe not. Maybe there's other things for you to do. But starting from being able to be in a group that allows you to start where you are, that's powerful, because then you'll be able to really grow and expand in that way. So I would love to hear. I mean, we've got someone's on the outside viewing. If you're watching this from the outside and you want to just ask a question about masterminding, and I've done so many different videos about masterminding, you can go on my YouTube channel and just search the mastermind. I think there's, I don't know, maybe at least maybe 10 you'll find. So, but the power of the mastermind is, I feel like we don't even have to talk about that. Napoleon Hill talks about it. We know it's true. We know that that's the true power of being able to connect with people, have that engagement, and not only just being there together, but being in that state where you're bringing in infinite intelligence to help you expand the consciousness of what's going on within that desire of you coming together. So what are the roadblocks? What are what kind of support or help do you need in either creating your mastermind group or within your mastermind group? These are the questions that I want to answer, because I've been doing this for so long that there's nothing I haven't heard. And I've consulted and helped a lot of people who have high level mastermind groups, and I know what there's issues that come up when you're doing a lot of mastermind groups that they don't come up when you're just starting out. So I've seen it all. Anyways, Andrew, do you have any thoughts or questions about mastermind groups, or how, or even expanding what you're doing now with mastermind groups?
Good question. Nothing's coming really to mind, Dawn.
Okay.
I think right now where I'm at in the experiencing of, I'm just kind of riding this rocket.
Yeah, nice.
And it feels really good.
Yeah.
I mean, I have a sense at some point in the future, whether that be near or far future, I'm not sure. I possibly could be leading my own mastermind group.
Yeah.
And I can see how I could continue now to up level in the groups.
Yeah. And you really, there's, and I think that's so right on. And I did want to talk about that today, and we'll leave with that thought. When you're starting out, if you don't have a mastermind, just get one. One of the very first mastermind groups that I started facilitating that we were meeting after our Toastmasters group. I actually asked my Toastmasters group if anyone wanted to be a part of a mastermind group, and if they were willing to stay. We were there until like 9 o'clock, and so we stayed until 10. It's like from 9 p.m. to 10 p.m. every night. Once a week we were masterminding. And it was so cool because I was expecting maybe 5 or 6 people to, say, yeah, I want to join. And we had 10 people, and the group, the Toastmasters group was really, there were like 15 regulars. So there were a lot of people that joined. And I learned so much from that very first one. Nobody paid, but they were all there together for a singular purpose of getting our minds in sync with success. That was just the purpose of it. Let's go through Think and Grow Rich. I'm telling you, do this. If you think of nothing else, do this. Or any other book that really resonates with you. If you can find a good book that is like around a topic that you really want to share and get people kind of in sync with that idea, then start a mastermind group around that. But that's like at the very beginning. Once you get comfortable with that, then you can start charging people for your mastermind groups, and or you can, and maybe not that particular group, but you can move into another group and charge, for something different or a different level. But there's always layers and layers and layers of mastermind groups, and there are people right now that charge hundreds of thousands and even $1 million a year to be in their mastermind group because of the connections. And at that level, it's really about who else is in the group, and the access and resources that they have that you might not have available for you. So that's kind of big business things, and sometimes that's really the best place to do. Invest in that kind of way. Now, for everybody who's watching this, and if you want to start your own mastermind group and get paid for it, that's what I do. You can either connect with me on G Plus or send an email to dawnrnocera@gmail.com, and I can set you up with an appointment to talk about that. But it's so much easier than you think. You can make a lot of money, or you can just play with it. But the power and the growth that happens, well, I'll just say that the growth that happens in awareness within a mastermind group compares none. I mean, I don't think you can compare it with anything, and it's slightly different than the growth that happens within like a group coaching program. Group coaching programs are great, but there's like this free-flowing thing that happens within a mastermind group that just allows for the pursuit of a desire to do the thing that it's supposed to do. Like there's that law of desire. If you're pursuing the desire, the thing that you're really, really wanting, anything that stands in your way will be illuminated. I think we've talked about that before. But if you align with, and if you align with the feelings that you want to have within a mastermind group, you're going to find the right one. And that's kind of where I'm going to end that. What are the feelings that you want to have from joining a mastermind group? You can write those down, and then that will help you align with the perfect mastermind group for you, whether it's one you facilitate or one that you join. What do you think about that, Andrea?
Well, totally agree with it. So people do pay to belong to mastermind groups.
Yep, they can. And yes, yeah.
Is it more common to pay to be a member of a mastermind group, or is it a kind of 50-50 split? What would you say?
Well, I would say that there's probably way more people masterminding that don't know that they're masterminding, that aren't paying for anything. So there's probably way more people masterminding and not paying to get in a mastermind group. And I would say that there's probably just a small percentage of people who are willing to pay to get into a mastermind group. And those people who they understand what they're doing. And they're coming at it from a place of trust and movement. You have to get into a mastermind group not because you've been persuaded to be there, but because your desires are a match for that group. That's the same way with everything. Anything that you do, you have to know. And you know, what I have found out is that sometimes your desire will make you be more than what you were before, and sometimes that requires making you if you need to make more income in order to join the group, then that's sometimes that's just what the desire is all about, is to get you to be able to make, you know, to increase your income so you can actually expand and be more. And you know, having a mastermind group that charges is one way to do it. So, you know, there's lots of different opinions about this. I support both of them. You know, like even if somebody were to come to me who wants to start a mastermind group where they don't get paid for it, you know, that's what I'm helping people do, is create those mastermind groups and those group coaching programs where they get paid for it. But if there's so many situations and reasons why you would want to create a mastermind group and where nobody is paying to be in it. There's a lot of reasons for that, and that would be an individual thing. I mean, we could talk about that, but like if you're in the industry like of real estate, and you want to form a mastermind group with other people who aren't in real estate, that's a great reason to start a mastermind group with other people and not have them pay to get in. And you will, I guarantee you, you will increase your income from doing that. Because when people see that you're in that giving environment, that there is something that happens, they want to support your business. And I've helped people do this. And it's just, you know, it's powerful, it's helpful, it's giving, it gives back, and it helps you. You know, sometimes we're leaders in an industry, and we don't really have other people to lead yet. We want to just start doing that, and yeah, they're so like realtors. And then when you get into saying, I want a mastermind group with other realtors, and I want to share what I know and help them grow their businesses, that's one where you would say, okay, that mastermind group,
you could charge for.
People are going to pay for it, right? Because.
But tell me something, Dawn. Do you think this whole networking thing started kind of with that intention of the mastermind? Like, you know, like these BNIs and things like that. Are they kind of taking it? I don't know why even I'm asking this. It's just kind of like, oh, let's just ask this.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm absolutely. You know, I've not heard what's his name, Ivan Meisner. I've not heard him actually say, oh yes, I started BNI, you know, with the whole purpose of creating a mastermind group. But I absolutely, yes, and yes. You know, that's the purpose. And if you think about it, you know, like that's why people want to be a part of that, because they do want to grow their businesses. All those networking groups, you know, like there's e-women, there's
so many now that have spawned off.
There's like, they're everywhere. They're everywhere. And yeah, I absolutely do believe that the original purpose of those groups, and why some of them succeed as opposed to why some of them don't, is because that they have, you know, some of them within them there's like a group, and you know, within there's like layers of what happens. There's the network meetings, and then you can do private masterminding with the group. And then there's like, you can go and mastermind with the supreme poobah of the group, be in their mastermind group. Sandra Yancey of eWomen, she has her own, you know, private group that she's mentoring now, and she just started doing that a couple years ago, where she's, you know, bringing them together. You could do, you know, there's so many different ways to do that, and you can mastermind with somebody in like a single day and just get all of that masterminding out, and, you know, hash out all those things. Those are the VIP days that you're talking about. You know, there's a masterminding element in that. So There are so many different ways um, to serve with your gifts and your talents through masterminding and through um, creating that kind of an environment for you and the people you serve.
Mm.
Yeah. So it's like 32 after the hour, and we've got one viewer. I don't know if you've put any comments there on it. But if you have any comments, you can put them underneath the video, and I will make sure that I respond to them. And we'll see you next month. We start on at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the first Wednesday of the month. And next month we are going to which is next month is February.
Yeah, it'll be the 4th. It'll be the 4th.
And we're talking about the mystery of sex transmutation. So we're gonna, we'll talk about sex in February, which is Valentine's Day. So, but it's the energy of that, not necessarily the act of. And there's so many different thoughts and opinions around that, and it's a juicy topic, but that's what we're going to talk about next month, and I hope to see you then. Bye, everyone.